WWE Survivor Series 2022, the match card and predictions for you here. Of course, it being the year 2022, a decade since The Shield debuted in WWE, getting an NXT call-up, the original NXT call-ups as well. Well, this year, we have an NXT call-up of our own, but not superstars. Oh no, it is a structure known as War Games. Of course, it was brought into WWE once again with NXT under the banner there in 2017. It's been used for the last years. It's now finally on the main roster being used for Raw and SmackDown for this year's Survivor Series. And if it's a success, it could be for every year going forward. Going to be talking about that. Going to be talking about the two War Games matches and the rest of the card as well. I've got three special guests as well that will be joining me. We've got the Ultimate War Games team here today. But before we get started, let's give you the match card of what you can look forward to, what we'll be discussing here today. So quite the lineup there, we could all agree there. But without further ado, got quite a lineup joining me here today. Without further ado, first off is none other than NXT in house. We've got Jonesy Chats Wrestling, and of course we've got Tino's Time in house as well. Now you're probably saying already before we go on, War Games, that's your team, Steve. There's 5 in War Games. You, the viewer, are the 5th member. We are untouchable. We are unbeatable when it comes to War Games. Now, first and foremost, let's go around the panel. Steve, how are you doing?
Very good, Steve. Thanks for having me on once again, and I'm very much looking forward to talking about Survivor Series.
Absolutely. It's a heck of a show, heck of a lineup. We've just seen the card there for us. Jonesy, how are you feeling?
Really good, thank you. Looking forward to this pay-per-view. Can't wait. Should be fun.
It should be a lot of fun indeed. Tino's Time, good to have you on the predictions panel. How are you doing?
Thanks for having me, and I'm looking forward to the show. I always love Survivor Series. No matter, it's always been one of my favorites. So I'm ready for Saturday.
Absolutely. Same for me as well. As you can see, I've got the Survivor Series t-shirt from last year. I was there at Barclays last year. One of my favorite pay-per-views, the second oldest WWE pay-per-view of all time. Only WrestleMania is above it in the pecking order. Of course, older than the Royal Rumble, older than SummerSlam as well. And let's go to the chat quickly before we get our thoughts on War Games. Caden in-house is his first here, going, what's up as well? Caden, thank you for checking out the stream. Hope you are doing well. We've got the one, the only Robbie Collins in-house as well. Robbie, hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking out the stream, as well as KXI as well here. What's going on, everyone? What's going on, KXI? Hope you are keeping well. And look forward to everybody's predictions in the chat as well. But before we go into the matches, you've seen the order that we'll be doing things in the video a minute ago. Now, our main focus of today, later in the video, will be the War Games matches. But first and foremost, I do want to get your take on War Games coming into Survivor Series. So, Steve, first off for you, obviously NX is in the name there. What are your thoughts of the call up there to the main roster?
This is probably one of the safest call-ups WWE are ever going to do, and they're not going to book this wrong at all. This is going to be, it's going to be entertaining. I expect this one, because it's the first ever one, to be absolutely mad. Loads of spots. And just thoroughly excited to see what they do with it.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, War Games in, of course, the old days we had the roof on top. These days we have the roof off of it. Like you said, crazy spots, people jumping off the top. Io Sky has jumped off with trash cans previously on her head. We've seen Ricochet doing 630s off of the bloody thing. So lots of things have happened previously when it comes to War Games. Jonesy, how excited are you for War Games being brought up here to Survivor Series?
Really excited. It's great to see it on the main roster. Something we never thought we'd see. Really looking forward to see what they do. And it adds a great sense of finesse. It really makes Survivor Series feel important, which is nice.
Absolutely. Obviously, we've had Raw versus SmackDown for a number of years, but obviously now we've got this take with War Games taking its place. And I mean, the thing is, Tino, I mean, it's an exciting addition. Like you said, Survivor Series is one of your favorite shows. Does this get you extra hyped for the show this year?
It really does. And I actually went to the one in 2019 that was in Chicago. I went that whole weekend to SmackDown, War Games, Survivor Series, and I went to that Monday Night Raw too. And after seeing it live, like, it's just one of those things, like, where, like NX Steve just said, like, the spots, they don't have any film for it because half the people are gone from the recent one. So, like we were talking about before we started recording, we're going to see so many crazy spots in both War Game matches that it's just going to be great to see. And just, like, I don't know if you guys, like, I went back and watched one of the older ones with, like, the cage, just seeing, like, how low the cage actually was in the first few ones before they took the roof off. It's going to be so great and so much fun to see. And Survivor Series finally feels important again, because for a while there, it didn't feel like it was Survivor Series. It just felt like it was Raw versus SmackDown put together on a paper on Raw before. So I'm excited, and it just War Games adds the more like the oomph, and if it succeeds, I hope we see it every year.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, that's the thing. If it does succeed, wow, we've got a heck of exciting, going forward with this structure being involved here each and every year. The two rings, of course, for those who've never seen it before, the cage is surrounding both rings. There is no roof on top here. Wrestlers, we start with 1v1, and there'll be advantage for one team. So after the first few minutes, one member's team will come in. They will continue to have the advantage throughout the whole match because it'll become 2-on-1, 2-on-2. 3-on-2, so forth, until we get both teams of 5 in the structure. And that's when the match officially begins. And it's pinfall or submission that leads to the end of a match. It'll probably last, like I say, NXT ones lasted about a good hour or so, and they were 4v4. This is 5v5. I think we're looking at 45 minutes to an hour each on all of them. But just before we go into our first match, because we will come away from War Games and we'll do the undercard first, and then we'll go back into War Games for the main event of our stream. But first and foremost, NXT, I have to ask you, are you a fan of the new structure of War Games, or do you prefer it with the roof on top with the old WCW style?
I think if you take the top off of it, it just gives them a chance to do some more of these crazy high spots. So I'm all for that. I'm going to be much more entertained than, I don't know, someone trying to scale across the ceiling like a Spider-Man, for instance. So I just think it just gives them, the wrestlers, like certain people, more options to do more crazy spots on the night.
Absolutely. Jonesy.
Yeah, I'm a fan of it. It at least gives some difference to a Hell in a Cell match, I think, which is kind of sensible. But look forward to it. I'm hoping this will be as brutal as the first ever Elimination Chamber. I'm hoping it's going to have that hard-hitting style.
Absolutely. Joe, I think you make a fantastic point there, because I believe back in the day, WWE did Hell in a Cell to counter War Games, what WCW was obviously doing back in the day. So it's a fantastic point you make there. Tino, roof or no roof?
I mean, yeah, I agree. Like, I like the no roof just because, like, the first few, I went back and watched them. It felt like how tall those guys were. Like, I feel like their heads were about to hit it every single time they did.
Yeah.
And it was just now with it open, like EO jumping off with a trash can. What are they gonna do? Like when they brought, we all know at one point too, they're all gonna bring weapons in. Somebody's just gonna throw a bunch of trash cans and chairs and stuff. So yeah, I like it without the roof. It's just more exciting because it's better than like we don't want Spider-Man out here.
Absolutely. Well, I hate to be a broken record. I know everyone probably watching something. You will just agree all the time. Well, so far, I have to agree with everyone. It's modernized. Back in the day, it worked for WCW, how they did it then. It was the structure and the personal rivalries. These days, we're used to a more spectacle, a high-flying style. This sort of, this is the modern way of wrestling. So, yeah, I would agree with everybody here when they say that. And
I'd just say that I think that the roof off as well is WWE's own unique spin on it. So they're not essentially copying the WCW look. So they've gone with their own take on War Games, which I think is just another reason why they've gone that way as well.
Absolutely, I completely agree. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go into the chat. There's quite a few comments come flying in, and then we'll go into our first match here today. So we've got about 6 or 7 comments that we're going to go through quickly. Mike, Italian Habs Mike in house says, Bitter has not been the best, but both War Games matches should deliver. Can't see Becky returning to lose the damage control. Either Candice or my prediction, Tegan Knox. Interesting there with the predictions. We'll be giving our take later on. We've got King Frosty for Ace. Thank you for checking out the stream. It says, hello, handsome people. I don't know what the last bit there is, if that's all one word or not, but fair play to you. KXI says, I don't think Tegan would get much of a pop, but if she was to return, Candice is a safe bet. Well, as I say, we'll give our take later on. Richard Robes is in the house. As Zoe start going to Survivor Series War Games, being Team Bianca, and joins, of course, Judgment Day, as Richard says, each and every time. Nuben Co says, hello to us all. Hope you're doing well. No, thank you for checking out the stream. KXI says, if it were Candice, why keep it a mystery instead of having a return last night? Interesting take. We do know the 5th member will be announced on SmackDown. Too Sweet Carl says, quite the crew we got here. Thank you very much, Carl, for joining us. Hope you were doing well as well. I think a Too Sweet there is definitely appropriate to him there also. And Ed Fry's in house as well. And Ed, I have to apologize. He said on Twitter, no one from Boston here. No, we've got someone from Chicago, and then we've got literally 3 people from Essex in the UK. So that's pretty much our War Games team today. But hopefully it will do for you, my friend. But without further ado, I know what certainly will do for everybody, a prediction. So without further ado, let's go with our first match that we're going to talk about. It's going to be the triple threat match between Seth freaking Rollins, Austin Theory, and Bobby Lashley. Quite the looking triple threat match here. 3 of the 5 Raw Survivor Series team last year, by the way. I don't know if anyone noticed that little coup in there. But, of course, Seth Rollins won the United States Championship from Bobby Lashley after he was destroyed by Brock Lesnar. That led to the Brock versus Lashley program we had at Crown Jewel. Lashley, in the process, seemingly has turned heel there. Jones, you called that weeks before it happens, by the way, so kudos to you for that. Of course, Seth Rollins has held the championship, went afterwards, did I believe, in Barclays Center, an open challenge. Of course, was not accepted by anyone really throughout the night. Finn Balor tried, that was stopped. Bobby Lashley was going to, Mustafa Ali was going to try to, but in the end, no one kind of really accepted it, and it felt that Seth Rollins was just beaten down by Lashley, and this was the time Theory decided, I'm going to cash in Money in the Bank. It didn't really work out for him because Bobby Lashley stopped him from winning. So I guess that's kind of one of the reasons why it could be called the worst cash-in ever. Not only was it not for a world championship, he didn't succeed either, and Lashley stopped him from winning it. So it just didn't seem like a good idea at the time. But we've got a brand new Austin Theory, it seems, since a vicious Austin Theory. I believe Corey Graves described it on Monday Night Raw this week. Hopefully not as vicious as the Viking Raiders, but hey, I digress. At the same time, though, we seem to be building here the nice piece of the puzzle here because Lashley and Seth have their program going on. Still not the one-on-one match here, but Austin Theory would have won that championship. So it seems a natural fit here to have the triple threat match. And I've got to say, with Theory now being almost reborn, losing the selfie stick, losing the, the Vincent madness about him, it almost feels like now we've got a third-time player in this match. Rollins, Lashley, Theory, all bags of potential. This could go any which way here. And of course, I mentioned at the start of the video, a decade of the Shield. It seems only appropriate that Seth Rollins would be on this card. NXT, Steve, give me the breakdown. What do you think of this match?
The match itself, I'm looking forward to. I think you've got Austin Theory in there, who's a fantastic wrestler. Seth, to me, is one of the best in the world, and Bobby's just he's one of my favorite big guys. And I'm not really normally a fan of big star wrestlers, but the chemistry, the story's been a bit sort of confusing. Like you were trying to explain it just a minute ago, and my brain was still rattling it, trying to work it out. But I'm enthusiastic about it, like the reinvention of Austin Theory. Like I liked him the way he was before when he was banging on about being the youngest and all this kind of stuff. But in 2 weeks, they've already made him a lot more appealing to a lot more people. So that's always a plus. But for me personally, I think you're going to see Mustafa Ali be added to this on Friday as well, because I'm going to be shocked if he doesn't get an opportunity with how well he's been doing and how much he's been appearing on TV lately.
Do you know what? I mean, of course, he never gives up as well. So to try and get in there at the last minute, of course, SmackDown, we know, is the must-see show this week. We'll be talking about the 5th member of Bianca's team later on. Jonesy, obviously, this is the first time we've had a discussion about Austin Theory on camera here. Obviously, we've had a big change with this guy going forward, as NXT said, appeals a lot more to a lot more people now. What do you feel of this Austin Theory going forward? For me, I see more comparisons to Randy Orton. Obviously, Randy Orton, their career has been kind of similar in ways where, Austin Theory was kind of that rookie that started off, didn't quite work out for him, got put in a group. Obviously, Randy Orton was Evolution. Yes, it was the way for Austin Theory, but he was in NXT. He then sort of got the big rub of the green, the IC title for Randy, going then for a world title. Theory's had the United States title, Money in the Bank, almost the key to a world championship. But then they kind of fell flat very quickly. Randy Orton got kicked out of Evolution, kind of kicked out of the main event scene for a long time, had to repackage himself going forward from being that babyface. Here, Austin Theory feels that repackage and that rebirth again. I see those sort of parallels. Do you see that as well with Austin Theory? And do you think that he can end up being like a Randy Orton in the future, being a multi-time world champion?
Yeah, I do see them parallels. I think he's done a really good job. I think WWE have done a fantastic job of building him up from where he was a couple of weeks ago. This is the Austin Theory we saw going into last summer, or this summer, that was going to go against John Cena. He's that kind of level of hype again for me, and I think they've done a really good job. I think the explanation they gave for when he clashed in was really clever as well after. I've really enjoyed the recent work, and I think this really is somebody they can get serious behind if they want to give him a big push at WrestleMania, which is probably what they're going to do.
Absolutely. And your thoughts with this match? Are you looking forward to it under the triple threat banner?
I think it's good. I don't know how we've kind of got here, but it's a bit confusing, don't get me wrong, of knowing who's good and who's bad, but I've really kind of enjoyed it. And yeah, I think it really brings prestige to the United States title. When you've got 2 former world champions compete for the United States title, that's only a good thing.
Absolutely. I mean, it is the top title on Monday Night Raw, as Austin Theory said. Tino, what are your thoughts of this triple threat match? Are you looking forward to it?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. And they kind of like some of the things I was going to say, like with like Mustafa, I feel like he's going to be added. And that was the thing. Like, what was the point of like him being taken out like randomly by Bobby and Theory and everything like that, where it's like, if he's not involved, are we turning this man into a jobber? What are we doing with Ali? Is he just out there getting his ass kicked? Like, I feel like he has to be a part of it with how he's doing it. And then like with the triple threat, I just think that it's good because we're gonna see, like with Austin Theory, with like Jonesy said, I feel like him turning the way he did that's what we're leading to now. It's gonna be Cena versus Theory. I feel like this is what we wanted to get at SummerSlam, but Cena didn't want to do, or he didn't want to whatever he didn't want to be a part of SummerSlam or whatever the heck John Cena was doing, whatever he was filming. I think this is what we're gonna lead to now with the serious Theory, because John Cena is gonna come back as a babyface, and this triple threat match I think will be great. It's 3, like you said, former champions that are going to be going there and beat the hell out of each other. And triple threat matches are always fun. I love triple threat and fatal 4-way matches, no matter who it is. And if it turns into a fatal 4, it's great. I mean, and more people beat the hell out of each other. It is, I mean, so, I mean, that's how I feel about it. I think it's going to be good. It's just the one thing I'm worried about is where are they going to place these matches? Because we know War Games is going to start off first, and then, because the War Games is exhausted. So it's like I worry, like I feel like after the first War Games, they should put Shotzi and Ronda that we'll talk about later. But that's the only thing I'm kind of worried about with that. But I'm sure we'll get into that more.
Absolutely,
I'm looking forward to it.
Absolutely, we'll probably get Jonesy's favorite. We get some long adverts about Bobby Lashley's storied career and stuff like that all the way through. If we get Jonesy started on that, we'll probably go on for an hour himself on that. He hates them, but at the same time, I mean, I totally agree that the placement of this card is going to be very key. This is the match that I think outside of War Games that's going to go on the longest. So, like, I agree with this is probably the match that probably I can see going like third on the card, maybe the one even before the last War Games. I think it's going to be strategic how it's going to be used on the night. Quickly, if Mustafa Ali was added last minute, he seems like the person for me that would take the pinfall. That's what I would say there on when it comes to prediction. But as he's not currently listed on this match, I'm not going to consider that. I'm going to consider who else I think will take the pinfall. I think Austin Theory is taking the pinfall in this match. I think the long-term goal is Seth Rollins against Bobby Lashley in a one-on-one capacity. They can do it without the US title, but for me personally, I think at the moment the US title stays with a Seth Rollins versus Bobby Lashley program, potentially even at the Royal Rumble. For that reason, I'm going to give my prediction first here, then I'll go around to everybody. I'm going to say that Seth Rollins retains. And Nick Steve.
So I'm the same as you. If you'd told me that Mustafa Ali is getting added to this, I'm saying Mustafa Ali wins, because I just think he needs it more than anyone out of the four of them. That he needs something, because he's just been doing nothing for so long. But since he's not in it, I can't see Austin taking a pin. I think the rebuild job that they're starting to do now, I think a pinfall loss will only discredit the build that they've been doing with him. I think if anyone's going to take the loss, I think it's going to be Bobby. And I actually think Austin Theory is going to win. I think Austin Theory will take this title back. I don't reckon you need... Well, I suppose you could need a title between Bobby and Seth, but I'd like to see those two be pushed more into the main event scene again, and let someone else just have a run with that United States title and get some new rivalries going with Austin Theory.
It could be interesting. And I like that. It's a difference of opinion as well. Jonesy, what's your take on this, and how do you see it playing out?
Yeah, it's one or two. So the person who needs to win is Austin Theory. If he does win it, it's going to be due to Ali running in. I don't see Ali being in the match, but I can see Mustafa Ali getting involved, a bit like Nikki Cross back at Crown Jewel. I can see that kind of happening, getting involved and causing some sort of distraction. But for me, I think the winner is going to be Seth Rollins. I think Seth just won the belt. This is a placeholder really till Cody comes back for me. So I think it's too soon really for Seth to drop the belt. I think although he doesn't need the belt, I think it'll be a real shame for him to lose the belt at this point, considering he's in mid-turn of a babyface turn. So I think it would really help him to get this win here. And I think if Bobby loses, this further could cement him losing it and losing the plot like he did last month. Absolutely,
indeed. There, Tina, what's your take on this? What's your prediction?
I'm gonna take Seth to win and retain this match. And the one thing I wanted to say was that it happened yesterday, and I don't know if maybe this is the first time I've heard it, but I think this is the first time Seth has mentioned Cody like in a promo on Raw, and maybe we are leading to Seth retaining. And maybe if it's not going to be Cody, or if it's not going to be Cody versus Roman, maybe we run Seth versus Cody back for the United States title at WrestleMania. So, and then I don't know if you guys saw, I was trying to figure it out. Did you guys see that Dustin Rhodes said F you to Seth Rollins like 20 minutes after the promo or something? I was like, okay. I didn't know what it was. I was trying to see if like there was something else said or whatever, but I couldn't see it. So I feel like there's something leading to that. So I'm going to take Seth to win. And I think Bobby's going to take the pinfall, because I feel like Theory, I feel like they're trying to build him up to face somebody. And because like I'm sure we'll get into it a little bit. Like with the Rumble, I feel like this is going to be the most like star. They say it every year, but this very well might be the most star-studded Royal Rumble ever. Where like we have name after name after name. So
you could.
That's what
you
I'm
could be right
with that.
You could be right, and obviously with the big talents, you make a great point there with the Cody Rhodes. This is exactly why I think why Seth will retain here as well, because I agree with you. I think it's going to be Cody versus Seth. As Steve said about 6 months ago on one of these review streams, he said he could see them doing it again at WrestleMania. At the time, it's a world title. Well, Raw doesn't have a world title. This is their world title. I think it's as good as we're going to get, and I think that could be the case scenario of what we would get. Even if Cody wins the Rumble, I could see him saying, I want Seth Rollins at WrestleMania over more than the championship. It's that personal.
No, they can't have a Rumble winner not go for the World Championship. Come on, we've
Money
just
in the
had
Bank.
a really bad man. Yeah, but that was bad. We can't have two with the
That
Rumble
was
as
bad.
well. You can't discredit the Rumble like that, man. The Rumble is like one of the best events of the year.
I'm not saying it should happen. I'm just saying what could happen. I'm not saying
can't
what I
put it
want
past
to
them.
happen. Yeah,
Don't
wouldn't put it
manifest
past
it,
them.
man.
Don't put it out there, Steve.
Sorry, it's out there now. It's too late. It's too late. Maybe I can cut it at the end of this video. We'll have to wait and see how we'll go. But we've got Jadis Young in house as well. Says, hey, what's up, Tino? Good to see you in the stream. Thank you for joining us. Hope you're doing well. And Nubiko says, yeah, Ali did get attacked last night, so it makes sense to have him involved on Saturday. So, yeah, it seems a bit of agreement there of the idea. Okay, I'm new here, but I know Tina's time. He's my best bud. But two, do you think dethrones Roman Reigns? So we'll answer that question going around the table very quickly. And Steve, give us a name. Who do you think will actually be the one eventually to dethrone Roman?
I'm going to go with my favourite. I'm going to say Kevin Owens.
Nice, I like it. Jonesy.
Sami Zayn.
Tino.
I'm gonna stick with Cody.
I mean, it makes sense for Cody, but of the three of them, I want to agree. I want to say with Jonesy, I want to say it's Sami Zayn. He feels like the right one. It's that or Jey Uso for me, the full
It
circle.
would be so great. I just don't. I just if that happens, it's just gonna be like shocking because it's just like
That'd be great fan service.
Oh,
It'd be great fan service.
That's what we want. If you listen to the fans, we'll get very happy. Seth Rollins retaining, says Noob and Co. KXO says Bobby getting pinned, though he would have had to get spammed with finishers. He probably will have to. And to be fair, I think that's the best way to do it if they are going to make him be the one who gets the pin here. But yes, Seth retaining, full show. I like that, KXO, the way you've did that there. So that's what I'll take is then for our first match then. Guys, let's go on to the second match. And I know NXT particularly will be looking forward to this one, although we won't go to him first this time. It is AJ Styles versus Finn Balor. We thought we were getting the OC versus Judgment Day. Oh no, they gave us the singles match that we've wanted for a long time. A dream match to many. AJ Styles taking on Finn Balor. Obviously, I think the basis of this story here is that AJ Styles was meant to be teased to go and join Judgment Day. That didn't happen. He brought his brothers back for the OC. That's his family. They were still outnumbered 4-3 with the Rhea Ripley problem. The Rhea Ripley problem has been solved with Mia Yim. Rhea and Mia Yim, or should I say Michin now. The name change has taken place according to Fightful, and it's on WWE's website as well. So now, obviously, they're going to be involved in War Games. And it means that we've got Finn versus AJ, and we'll have probably the other two members outside. Jonesy, the odds are even. So does this mean at this point that AJ should finally get a victory here on a premium live event for the first time in 3 years?
I can't believe as long as that. No, I think he should, definitely. I think this is the point. I'm just surprised this isn't a 6-man. I think this is almost going to have the element of a 6-man tag without being a tag match. I expect all people to be brawling outside the ring and stuff. But yeah, this should be a dream match. Really looking forward to what they do. And I just hope they get a good amount of time. I'm really excited for this match. I didn't expect this, to be honest.
No, neither did I. It's great to have it involved on this show here, and obviously being one of the big 4 pay-per-views, which it still is. Obviously, it's a big-time match. Tino, what are your thoughts of AJ Styles against Finn Balor here? Great singles match here for me.
I mean, I'm looking forward to it. It's a dream match that I've wanted to see, and I think this is like this is going to be a match that we may very well look back and be like, damn, like we like. You know, like one of those matches at Survivor Series that we always think back to where like it's not traditional, it's not War Games, it's just a regular singles match. These two are going to go out there and steal the show. They're two, like the whole rivalry's been great. The way like Finn and Judgment Day has been presented has been way better than what it was. And I think these two are just going to go out there and steal the show.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, they have that potential. And I mentioned about AJ Styles not getting that big program singles win, certainly for 3 years on the premium live events, which is mad to say 2019 was the last time. Finn Balor, by the way, has only been pinned 5 times this year. He's been heavily protected, believe it or not, which is incredible. So, NXT, I need to get your take on this match because I know the last time they did this match was a last minute for TLC back in 2017. It was a dream match then. You said for many streams since, why have we not got a program with these two? We finally got it. You must be ecstatic.
I'm actually underwhelmed because this should be on a bigger this should be on a bigger stage. This should be a Mania match. Why? Don't get me wrong, Survivor Series is one of the big four, but these two, like this feels like this should be the feud ender. Like we should be getting a 6-man tag match here. Like I can't understand why they've gone straight to the singles match, but yeah, me personally, it needs to be at Mania. It's just such a more high profile match, and yeah, they're absolutely going to knock this out of the park. And yeah, like you just said, I've been saying for ages, while we've never had a singles program with these two, why they've never even done anything so much as a tag team story with the pair of them. But you're right, this is probably going to be match of the night for me. You're going to get all your crazy spots in the War Games matches, but these two have got so much history that we're going to see something special. I think this is going to be like, I don't want to almost hype it up too much, but I think you could be looking at one of the WWE's best matches of the year with those two.
I wouldn't be surprised. I mean, these two are incredible in ring. Obviously, we know they have history previously, so it's not as if like this is the first time ever, even if it feels like the first time in like 5 years that we're seeing it here. Finn Balor has been presented so well with Judgment Day since Triple H has took over the creative control. AJ Styles is back on track now. We've got the OC. I agree with you. I thought we were going to get a Survivor Series style elimination match here going into this, but that wasn't to be. The singles match is what we've got, and I've got to say, just to give you a reply to that, yes, it's a WrestleMania caliber match, but that brings Survivor Series back up to where people hopefully will be talking about it in that same level, which, you know, if people want it to be a top 4 pay-per-view, some, if they are feeling that luster, like I said, I'm not one of them, but some of them are feeling that, this puts it back in that sort of bracket for people once again. Jonesy, I'm going to come to you then for your final takes and a prediction, please.
Yeah, my final takes, I think AJ Styles to get the win here. I think they're finally going to write they've been on the back foot the majority of this feud, so I think they have to do it here. AJ Styles to win and look for Judgment Day to probably sort of have some sort of falling out after. I think they stay strong, but I expect them to squabble in the weeks coming after this.
Interesting, especially with an Edge potential return at some point down the line as well. Tino, what will be your final thoughts and a prediction, please?
I'm going to say that AJ takes the win and beats Finn in this. He's finally going to get the win that he hasn't had in a while. It feels like they're just finally starting to he's starting to feel important again. I feel like he hasn't felt important since like when he was AJ Styles, the face that ran the place and SmackDown and everything like that. And it's like he's got out of the Omos tag team and all that other random stuff he was doing, and he finally. So I'm going to take AJ to win this.
I like it. And it's Steve.
As much like I'm gonna agree, and I'm probably gonna say AJ, but I can honestly see a no contest or some sort of screwy finish just as a reason to push this on even further. But yeah, I think if you would give it to AJ, I think it ties them up then, because I think the one in 2017 Finn won. So again, just gives more reason to go through this and do it all over again, possibly get the 6-man tag match as well.
Absolutely. I feel the same as you. That if you look at the way that the stories run here, this for me now, it is the time where, you know, the OC, AJ Styles should be picking up momentum. They picked up losses where they didn't have the numbers disadvantage. Now they are on par. So now they should be picking up wins. AJ needs to win this match. And then from that point onwards, they can go and do the 6-man tag team match, or with all of them in there, they can do the mixed tag, 8-person tag match. Perhaps they're not doing it on Survivor Series because we have multi-person matches inside the War Game structure. But either way, I think that it's going to be an absolute classic, an absolute barn burner. Jonesy, before I go to the chat, it looks like you want to say something.
Yeah, I was just going to add, I'd expect Rhea Ripley and Mia Chin, or Mia Yin, whatever she's called now, to be taken out. I think they'll take each other out. Like if this match is before the War Games, I expect them to take each other out. And so really, it will only be 3-on-3 on the outside. I reckon that's what they should do. I think they'd be really silly if they go full to tone and they've got a War Games match ahead of them later in the night.
Absolutely. Yeah,
it should be interesting to see which one they do start off with, because with the men's or the women's, because it's like, because both have like different storylines. So I'm sure we'll talk about that more though.
Absolutely. If I had to predict now, I'll say that nice and early. I think the women's War Games match will start the night off. That will rule both out from this match. And then the Rhea Ripley problem has been solved. Therefore, they can have the singles match here. But of course, the men will probably still get involved. But we'll go into the chat because it's flooding in here and I will lose track otherwise. Anubin Go says, I'm going with either Cody, Sami Zayn, or Jey Uso to be the one to dethrone Roman Reigns there. So definitely good few options there. 2 week out on conflicted. Can I see Seth or Theory? But I definitely needs to get involved. Now going on to the match we're talking about now, KXI says AJ needs this win. I have to agree there with that. King Frosty says it's either Cody, Jey Uso, or AJ Styles. I think that's to dethrone Roman Reigns. Two Sweet Cast says OC desperately need to win here. Styles wins it, or the feud is doomed. And I think that's a very good point there. I mean, if AJ wins here, he just looks a bit like a jobber at this point, or perhaps not someone that should be in around the top part of WWE's programming. So I think you make a great point there. AJ needs this, as been said earlier on here. Okay, so I don't know if Jay wins, but what does Jimmy do? Well, I don't know what would happen in that case scenario there, what Jimmy would do, but maybe that would create its own storyline from that point onwards with the Bloodline. We'll have to wait and see. Then WWE changed the name back to Mia Yim. They did bring her back as Mia Yim, but it's, I believe, according to Fightful, Michin is the name now that's on the WWE's website.
I think that's Michin, though.
Michin, there we go. I'm hoping that I will get that correct as we go along, because I heard it a couple of times on Raw last night. If I do get it wrong, then I do apologize. Okay, so this may be match of the night in your opinion. I think we would agree with that one at this point. And I get why they're not doing it at WrestleMania. I think they're going to do Edge versus Finn at WrestleMania. And KXI, I happen to agree with that comment. I think that's will be the feud ender all around. When it regards to that, we've got Underground Temple new in the house. Underground Temple is back. Took some time away from YouTube and wrestling. Has had some bad news regarding family member. Want to take some time away, but I'm back. Healthy. Hope you're all well. Thank you for joining us, Underground. I'm very sorry to hear some bad news regarding a family member. Hope you are keeping well. It's good to know that you are back and you're healthy. And thank you for joining us here today. And we look forward to learning your predictions as well as we go along. Don Mills in the house as well. Don, thank you for checking out the stream. Hope you're doing well. Nubico says AJ Styles is winning this match. Totally busy here in the chat. Kexler says, what's up, Temple? So it's good to see we've got some love there going in the chat as well with everybody. Who knows? We might get a Bullet Club Civil War at WrestleMania 39. Noob and Co. I like your thinking there. That would be fun. Okay, so it says it would be interesting. Richard, I give your comment a shout earlier, so I have got that out there for you. And AJ Styles gets the win over Balor. We get a six-man tag in the next pay-per-view, and we get Styles versus Balor at Mania. Potentially, I mean, I wouldn't be against the rematch if they did that again further on down the line. AJ versus Balor versus Edge at Mania would also be nice. I totally agree with that. AJ needs it, and Kofi's not going to save it. Richard, love you trolling, but it's never going to happen. Guys, are we ready to go on to the next match? I feel this next one could be a short one.
Go for it.
Let's do it.
Let's do it indeed. Well, I'd say it's going to be a short one, but thank goodness we are at least getting the tank at War Games. It is Ronda Rousey going against Shotzi for the SmackDown Women's Championship. Shotzi, bless Shotzi. She won was it a 5-way or a 6-pack to get in this position?
6-pack, I think.
6-pack to get in this position. So she is rightly the number one contender. But unfortunately, I think I speak for everybody on Twitter, and probably myself included. No one really giving her a chance here against Ronda. She didn't even really cleanly beat Shayna Baszler this past week on SmackDown. And that's a shame as well, because that's the bit of momentum you need going into this show. The only thing that I can see as a saving grace entirely is that Raquel Rodriguez could be the backup for Shotzi going into this match. But something we need to remember, everybody, I know everyone wants to see the big time matches on every single show. Like I said, War Games is going to take like 2 hours of this show. That's what's going to happen. We've just discussed the other two matches. They're probably going to get 15, 20 minutes each. We need a match that's not going to last as long probably on this show. And this is probably the one that's going to be probably about 5 minutes or less. It's not good for that, but it is an opportunity if people get behind Shotzi to maybe try and still give it a breakout moment. At Tino's time, what are your thoughts of this match? And do you think that people have been a bit harsh on it that Shotzi is getting this opportunity?
I mean, I think Shotzi, I think like the problem with like a lot of these people, and that's the thing, like I've noticed, especially like some of them, like the people that have not watched NXT don't know who a lot of these people are. So it's like, you don't see like what they did in NXT, where it's like the way Shotzi was in NXT, the way everything like was, and we can go on and on with Riddle. And so we could do a whole podcast on that, guys. But it's one of those things where just like seeing these people that they see them come up and they're like, oh, I don't like them. Or I see all these people that I don't like Karrion Kross. I don't like this. And it's just like, what don't you like about him? Because he's out there, like, it's just like, you know what I mean? And that's why I feel like they need to give Chauncey a little bit of a shot. Obviously, she's not going to win. This match is going to be like 5 minutes, bathroom break. Tino's going to be right back. I'll listen to some music. I'll go get a snack. But like you said, it's going to be 2 hours. This is a match to give Ronda a little bit of have her on the pay-per-view. Honestly, I would love to see Shayna do something. Maybe Shayna finally, if they're doing a tag team, well, what are we doing with these two? That's the one question I do have. I just want to know, like, are we leading to a rivalry? Are we doing, because I feel like Shayna should be the one to beat Ronda. If it's not going to be Charlotte, if it's not going to be somebody. So I feel like Ronda's going to win within 5 minutes. And I feel like the best thing for Shotzi, I feel like they're doing this. So she comes out in the tank. She does the explosive stuff. And like, it's War Games. And then that's going to be the longest of Shotzi.
Absolutely. And to be fair, I agree with everything you said there to a degree there. The key point of NXT, she's had some great championship chances in NXT as well. But I suppose it is a different ballgame. Ronda Rousey is seen as the baddest woman on the planet. She is seen as someone who is, hardly ever pinned as well. It's probably the biggest match of Shotzi's career. And Shotzi has faced Ronda before and lost in about a minute and a half. So it probably doesn't give people that good taste either. I'm gonna give my prediction now because Tino gave his there as well, so we can go around this one fairly quickly. Of course, Ronda Rousey is my prediction as well here, but like you said, Shotzi's always guaranteed for a Halloween Havoc and a War Games because those things suit her gimmick well. NXT, what's your take on this and what's your prediction?
This is going on after the women's War Games match. It's going to be one of those matches that's just there for 10 minutes to get little people to do whatever they need to do, toilet break, just to calm the crowd back down again before we get back into some stuff that people actually want to see. And there's no discredit to either of them. I love Shotzi Blackheart. I'm not Ronda's biggest fan, but it's just filler for me at this point.
Fair play, Jim. And just to double check the prediction you gave there.
Ronda, as if it was ever going to be Shotzi. But yeah, just double check
just
anyway.
Confirm it. No, I kind of had the feeling, but I just wanted to confirm it for everybody. Jonesy, give us your take as well on this before you say that Ronda's your prediction.
Yeah, just a throwaway match. This is a WWF Superstars 95 match. Like, don't belong on a pay-per-view. It should be on the free-for-all, really, in all honesty. But yeah, it'll be okay. I don't know how we've kind of got to this match. If there's a god out there, Shotzi will get taken out before the match. And then somebody like Sasha Banks comes out, and then it's a serious match. That's what I'd like to see. But call me crazy, probably not going to happen. So Ronda to win. If they're sensible, let's get Shayna take out Shotzi and do Shayna versus Ronda now. Let's just get that done. I think that would be a far better match. But it makes sense to do this match. They're clearly saving Raquel Gonzalez for later on in the year and Liv Morgan again, I think.
Yeah, probably. I mean, obviously, this is a great way to build Raquel to be the next challenger at this point. Like I said, what's going on with Shayna, we'll have to wait and see at a later date if that's a team or a rivalry later down the line. But James, you just because obviously there we've gone around the table there, and I just want to quickly say, is there anything where there could be a breakout moment here for Shotzi on this show that she could do something that could just wow the crowd and just get people into this?
She might get a near fall, but then I can't really take her seriously. Like, there's so many better women's wrestlers on the roster. Like, I just think it's not her fault the spot she's in. And compare her to Raquel, for me, she's not in the same league as Raquel. Unfortunately, she's not even there.
Fair play, Jim. Well, I'll tell you what, let's go to the chat because we've all give our take on it. I don't think we need to add much more in it. We've been quite definitive and quite clear on our prediction. The 4 horsemen of podcasting. Thank you, Underground. That's very kind of you to say there. We really like that's a very big compliment there. Richard Shotzi needs this win. Yeah, she does need the win. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see. But I don't see Rhea attacking Ronda at any point either. KXI, having a real debate who thinks will win this match. We'll see your take probably in a little bit. Ronda retains. I feel like we're getting Ronda versus Becky versus Charlotte again. Certainly could be an idea. Obviously, we don't know what's going to go on with Becky at WrestleMania. Obviously, Bayley is a feud that's in there as well. Charlotte needs to come back to TV. So that's an interesting proposition there, certainly indeed. Okay, so I hope we get Shayna versus Ronda at WrestleMania. I mean, that would be a big place to do. It's a big time feel, isn't it? Early prediction for the Women's Royal Rumble is Shayna Baszler. I'm liking that, KXI. It's a fun prediction that's come flying out there for us. Underground says, have we talked about the Women's War Games match? We haven't yet. You're in a good time, Underground. We're getting there very shortly. But we'll read your comments all the way through. Tegan Knox being a part of it, or Sasha Banks, the faces of both Dakota and Bayley's face, similar to Owens. I like your take. We'll be taking more on that in a couple of minutes' time. KXI says, Shotzi respectfully is only here for the cool entrance with her tank. And I think that's respectful. It is respectful. It seems to be a full house, a clean sweep. Unfortunately, Shotzi, no one is predicting you, but maybe another podcast out there somewhere might be. But guys, are we ready to move on to War Games?
Let's do it.
Go for it, mate.
This is the best I can do the impression, by the way. Let's start off then.
Anybody can do it like Regal.
Probably not. Let's start with the Women's War Games. Then we've got Team Bianca with Asuka, Alexa Bliss, and Michin. We've got Bayley, Damage Control there, Nikki Cross, and Rhea Ripley, all there being a part of the lineup there. I'll tell you what, I mean, this is starting from SummerSlam at this point. We don't know who the 5th member is going to be, but we're going to discuss that in a couple of moments. But we'll just go through the history of this first. Damage Control, obviously, made the triumphant return with Bayley, Io Sky, Dakota Kai coming back to the company. Of course, that was the time facing Bianca and Becky Lynch, and we saw a beatdown then. Becky Lynch was then written off TV the next night on Raw. We built to Clash at the Castle, of course, where we had Oscar and Alexa Bliss there. Of course, Jonesy and NXT were privileged to be at that show there for that 6-woman tag team match. Candice LeRae at one point was involved with this, and then she was written off TV. She's apparently got a shoulder injury at this particular moment. I believe that's why she's not been on Raw in recent weeks. But as we know, we've built this up for War Games. We've gone through a couple of POEs with Bianca versus Bayley. Bianca triumphantly winning on both, sometimes actually besting all of Damage Control. Now we've got here to the nitty-gritty. We've got to War Games. Nikki Cross has made a return. She's cost Alexa Bliss on a couple of occasions. Looks like that will be a long-term feud coming out of War Games. And of course, as well, Michin, or Mia Yim, if you prefer, and Rhea Ripley have been added to the teams where they have been dragged into the War Games. So that's where we are now. Before we discuss fifth members, guys, I just want to get your thoughts on where we are now, because obviously this feels like it is going to be the final match, hopefully, with this. It's gone on for 4 months at this point. NXT, what are your thoughts of this first War Games match that we're going to discuss?
It's storyline wise, this one confuses me because I don't know what is going on. Like, with whoever wins this, who's going to be Bianca's next challenger, what's next for Damage Control, what happens with the other members and all these other teams, and it's like it's a really hard one for me to call. The match itself will be exciting. The girls, especially with EO in there, because EO is always up to doing them crazy spots like she has done in NXT. So I am looking forward to it. It's the decision, like with the result on this one. I'm torn because I just don't know what they're doing with the story going forward for that Raw Women's Championship.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing coming out of this is the Raw Women's Championship is probably key because you're building your next challenger potentially from this match, especially if one of the heels win, or do the faces win clean here, and then we have to build someone completely fresh and new going forward because we've got 2 months after this to build to the Royal Rumble, so we have a bit of time to start and do things afresh, which is quite interesting. Obviously, we had the stare down between Bianca and Rhea Ripley as well during this build-up also. Jonesy, at this point, obviously, we can't give predictions yet because we're not even discussed who the fifth member will be. But what are your thoughts with the build of what we got to now here with this Women's War Games match?
I think it's good. I think generally this will be a really good match in ring. I think they've done a good job. Obviously, adding Rhea Ripley and Meech in the last minute is sensible. It's great to see Rhea Ripley back on a pay-per-view match. I'm really excited about that. This just seems to be kind of thrown together for me. I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. And I really hope this rights a lot of the wrongs like the recent months. Like we've had a lot of Bayley and Bianca month on month. And I'm hoping this is the end really for me. I think that it's been great to have the tag team titles involved, but there isn't much at stake. I would love it if the titles were online here for me. I think that if the titles were online or a potential double contention if the other team win would make it interesting because everybody would be trying to get that pinfall. But there's not a lot at stake here really for me for a War Games match.
Understandably, but I think that's a good point you make there because there's championships on either side, so there is something hopefully to gain whichever team wins. If someone go for the women's tag team titles or goes for the Raw Women's Championship, there is something I suppose that are coming out of it, and if it would be put quite heavily on the line immediately, then it does raise those stakes even further. Tino, I want to get your take on it as well, but I want to ask you a separate question as well. You mentioned NXT at the start of this stream. At least half of the women in this War Games match has been in it before through NXT, which obviously is great for an experience factor as well. What are your thoughts for the build here, and you looking forward to this?
I mean, I feel like that was like their part of their plan too, because like Steve said, it's good. EO's probably gonna do something crazy. She's gonna climb her ass on top and do something. And I think that was like part of it because a lot, like you said, a lot of these women have, and they're gonna want to protect the women that haven't been in it because, you know, there's just been a lot of different type of things, and you know, like you guys said, it has been put together and thrown together. But I think with the women that are in the match, I think it's going to be a really good 5-on-5 War Games match where we're going to see a lot of crazy stuff. And the girls that are in the match are going to be willing to do the stuff that maybe some other girls may not want to do because, you know, I'm sure that there's some that are kind of like, I don't want to compete in War Games. So I think it's going to be a great match and a great 5-on-5 War Games. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of unknowns going forward where I think we're probably going to get Rhea versus Bianca at the Rumble. Most likely, because I feel like it seems like I go back and rewatch a lot of the Rumbles, and I've noticed a lot of trends of like the same thing happens at this pay-per-view. It's like we always have one woman championship match, we have one men's championship match. It's like the same type of matches with different people with different storylines. So I think that's what we're going towards with that, but I'm looking forward to this one. And like we've talked about, I think this is the one that's going to start it. So.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think this starts to show off. I think this will be the more spot fest of the two matches. Obviously, we spoke at the start of this stream and also technically off air as well. And we're meant to spring up again here quickly. WWE is not using a lot of the NXT footage. Obviously, a lot of the people that were in NXT are no longer with the company. So they want to build things afresh here. So expect War Games to be all out a spot fest. And this one particularly, it's been mentioned about NXT. Io is just insane when it comes to these matches. We've seen what she's done previously. She don't care. She put her body on the line. I'm sure a number of these women will do the same thing, and it's going to be exciting to see how it's going to go down. Now, I've got two questions for you. The two questions I have is who's the fifth member going to be and who will start off War Games before we go into predictions. So we're going to go round the table for this now. So the fifth member for Bianca's team is going to be announced on SmackDown. How to make Raw feel it's the B show. The fact that a Raw storyline has to be decided on SmackDown. We don't know the fifth member at the time.
I was so confused because I was like, we're doing the men on Raw, SmackDown, we're doing the women on Raw. It's like, what are we doing here? Like, why are they both on? Like, I get it, but why? Like, that was one way they could have at least kept it separate. You know what I mean? And it was. Absolutely. That was my rant for a second.
Not a problem. Not a problem. I'm going to come around to you all very shortly, but I just want to go through a few of the names that I think could be nice to speculate and throw in your own if you think it's the fifth person. But obviously, I mentioned Candice LeRae, someone was involved in this storyline. Unfortunately, I think she's got an injury, so I think it does rule her out. Dana Brooke has been a part of this storyline. We cannot rule her out. The 24/7 championship is no more, thanks to Nikki Cross, but it is what it is. She still could be involved.
She also threw away the trash. Did you see her? She threw away the superhero costume in the trash. I was hell yeah. I was like, yup.
That's when you know she's crazy. We've got Beth Phoenix, who's got a rivalry going on with Rhea Ripley. She's got to return at some point. Maybe War Games will be the place to do. Maybe the kids can go and do some babysitting for a night. We've got then the Fightful report, potentially Fightful suggesting Becky Lynch could be about to return. Was one reason why we mentioned at the start she was the beginning of this story. Could she be the final placement of this story? And of course, we have two people who not necessarily could return at the same time, but one being Naomi or one being Boston's own Sasha Banks. And of course, that's going to be announced on SmackDown, could it be a SmackDown superstar that's going to be filled in? Which then you start thinking Liv Morgan, you start thinking Raquel Rodriguez, Aaliyah. People have been involved with Damage Control over the last couple of months. So let's go around the table. NXT, let's start with you. Who is the fifth member going to be, in your opinion, for Bianca's team in War Games?
Chelsea Green.
Oh, I like it.
I'm going to go with Chelsea Green.
Ooh.
I think it's not going to be someone that is going to overshadow the rest of the participants. She's a solid worker. I don't see why not. I think as much as I'd love to see it be a Naomi or a Beth personally, I just think it will overshadow the match itself. And I think they want to make it more about the match than they do about a return. So, I'm going to say Chelsea Green for me.
I like it. It's outside the box. I like it because there are rumors according to PW Insider that she's on her way back to WWE. So I do like that take there. Jonesy, who's the fifth member going to be?
Yeah, for me, break it down in a bit of detail. So on Friday night, you're not going to get an announcement of a wrestler. I think that they'll stall that. If they do an announcement, they'll announce Candice on Friday. She won't be able to make it. And Saturday, I've been saying it for 2 weeks on the Wrestling Report. I'm not going to change now. Sasha Banks, I reckon she's coming back Saturday. I'm pretty sure that it's one that will happen. She won't come back with Naomi. And it is one that can come in. And it's Boston. This is the place to do it, really. I think you can say Becky Lynch for the Royal Rumble, in all honesty. I think either way, it's either going to be one of them two that you swap around in the order, basically.
Absolutely. Tino.
Okay, so I have three things. Okay, so it could be as simple as it's going to be Candice. It could be somebody it's going to be somebody that we're expecting. Or it could be where we're going to see a surprise like Chelsea Green, Tegan Knox. Maybe we see somebody because, Tegan Knox never competed. She got kicked out, but she got her ass kicked by Dakota in 2019.
Yeah.
So she never competed in War Games. She was like, I want to come beat the shit out of Dakota. Maybe they started off. That would be crazy. But again, like Steve said, they want to make it about the match. Or we could see Becky, like the reports say. But what if we see possibly on SmackDown? Because that was the one thing I was thinking last night when I was watching. I was like, well, if they're not announcing on Raw, could it be a SmackDown superstar? And there's where it's like maybe we see somebody like Alexa turn heel because she's having the weird stuff with Bray. She's having the little weird things with Wyndham stuff. Maybe she turns Bray's on SmackDown. Maybe they do something. She's like, I'm done. I'm not doing this. And then maybe we see the almighty return of both Sasha and Naomi. So I feel like it's going to be like those three options where it's it just depends. Where like maybe we get a Candice like announcement, but we like don't. So that's the thing where it's like I don't know. But if I have to go right now, I guess I'd go with Becky just because Fightful obviously is never wrong, but I don't know. It's just one of those things I'm still kind of like, I guess we got to wait till SmackDown. And that's where I'm at. I've even said it on my shows. I'm just like, I have no idea. But I think those are my three things that where it could be.
I was just saying, to add Becky to that situation, if you think how SummerSlam ended with the return of Bayley and Io and Dakota, and it was Bianca that was standing next to it was Becky standing next to Bianca in the ring at the end of the night. Do you know what I mean? So it seems favourable.
I think the thing as well, which hasn't really helped, is Bianca saying you're going to be surprised by the partner. I think that really puts the hype there. If it is only somebody like a Candice, why would you do that? Really, that's the thing for me. I think it's just a shame that if it is Becky that it's out already. Like I've got to be honest with you, I think that is really, really kind of a shame.
Yeah, and that's the one thing where if they do it, like you said, Jonesy, where they don't announce it and they stall it one more day.
They shouldn't give it on SmackDown. Let's be fair. That if it is Becky Lynch on SmackDown, that buzz that they would have got on the pay-per-view, it's still going to get a buzz, but it's unless you're going to get last-minute buys for the pay-per-view, people getting the network or Peacock, or whatever. What is the purpose? You might as well delay this to the pay-per-view and then have that another reason to tune in. You know what I mean? That's what I think.
Well, exactly. But the one thing with it is I feel like if it's not Sasha and Naomi announced at Survivor Series, people are just going to have they're going to be so mad. So that's the only thing with them not announcing it. Or I feel like if it is announced at Survivor Series, I feel like it is because Bianca said that they have to deliver now.
Yeah,
because
I think the thing is, if it's a fifth, obviously this person, if it is only a Candice, whoever, you've had weeks to announce who this is. It's got to be somebody you've kept a secret for a reason. Like if it's only just a generic person on SmackDown, I think why not announce it weeks ago? That's the thing I think.
Especially with them announcing the men, they're not there. You know what I mean? Because obviously, if there was a surprise for the men, they wouldn't have announced it. That was
prime example is NXT Takeover when they did it, and Kevin Owens was the mystery person. It was a perfect surprise. Crowd went absolutely crazy for it, and that's the kind of stuff you want. You can't be like I said, people leaking it out a week before the event saying it's going to be this person. These are the moments you want to live for. Like I gasped when Kevin Owens came back for the NXT one. It was fantastic.
When I was there, I had the guy next to me started like jumping up and down. I'm like, bro, relax. I'm like, he's like, let's go. I'm like, relax. And I'm sitting there with my friend and his cousin, and they're looking at me. I'm like, these are wrestling fans, bro. I'm like, that moment was great though. When you hear, I get chills watching it on the network still.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, it was a special moment indeed. But that's the thing, like you said, it's a special moment here as well. But the problem is, if you do delay it to the show, it's in Boston. And everyone's going to be shown. And they're probably still anyway going to get, we want Sasha. We're going to get that all the way through regardless. Yeah, absolutely. We're going to get it anyway, but it's probably a prime suspect to play. So I can see why they're doing it on SmackDown, but I would have done it on Raw. That seems the place to have done it for me. But at the same time, coming down to it, I agree with Jonesy in a way, because I still think Sasha Banks it can be, because the fact is, it's always in a way where you can give a name out, but it doesn't have to be correct. It doesn't always have to be. These dirt sheets aren't always flawless. I'm sure they get things wrong here and there. And Sasha would be the most perfect comeback in that way, because Boston would go crazy. Most of the wrestling community would love it as well. For me personally, though, I think Dana Brooke would have been the name that I would have put in and then had wiped out. It was Dana politely. Again, it's another. It's easy to write off. You know, but at the same time, though, we're on this, and I want to get my prediction as where I feel right. And although I've been saying to Jonesy for the last 2 weeks, I think Sasha as well, I am going to switch it and say Becky, because it does kind of make sense more for the story that it's Becky. So I don't know. I think it's going to be one or the other.
Sorry, could we get both potentially? I know it's an overkill, like one off, not sort of. Could we not get Sasha Banks come back still at the event to get that pop? Because you could still save Charlotte Flair for the Royal Rumble as your big return, I guess.
Oh.
Absolutely, in the Rumble as well. I mean, I would like to see, like you said, there's Sasha to go in and face Ronda Rousey just face to face, even after the match, just a face to face stare down. I think would be quite awesome as well. So, but the women's tag team titles are in War Games, so I mean, there is that element as well. The fifth person, you could easily have Nikki Cross write out Alexa Bliss in the match as well. So there's lots of different variants of what you could do. I think the big question is now, because the chat is going mental, so I want to get to the chat very quickly. We'll read the best of them out. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go around here now, and we're going to give our predictions. So I'm going to start here. And I'm going to say, do you know what? Despite this, I'm going Damage Control and that to win it, because I have a feeling, especially if Becky's the one that comes in, they don't need to win on night one here. They've done the announcement before. The big pop for the babyfaces is the show before, so they can go into the pay-per-view, and then someone loses on behalf of that. You can start building a story with Bayley and Becky Lynch going into Royal Rumble, and Bianca and Rhea Ripley going into Royal Rumble. So that's going to be my take. I think the heels here do pick up the victory. NXT, what's your prediction?
Yeah, I'm going exactly the same way. I'm going with the heels. I think if they're going to go, I'm personally thinking if they're going to go Rhea versus Bianca, then they need to make a point of it now. This needs to be the start of that storyline and that arc, depending on wherever that's going to go, whether it's going to go to Rumble or if it's going to go to Mania. So for me, yeah, I'm going to go heels as well.
Absolutely. Jonesy.
I'm going heels. The way I think the match will play out is one of two ways. I think if Sasha's in it, she turns heel and costs the other team. Alexa could be the one that turns heel. Ultimately, the person that's getting the pinfall is Rhea. This match is designed to get Rhea over solely, so heels to win this. I think if Damage Control don't get the job done here, they are dead in the water. Like I keep saying it every single month, but the point of no return really at this point. They have to win this month. I think there's a lot more to get for it. Even Becky Lynch being it, just because Becky Lynch is in the match, if she does come back, she doesn't have to be pinned. So I think the Finn with it. I think the heels have to win this. I think Damage Control to win this. I think crucially the one to get the pinfall in this would be Rhea really for me. I think if Rhea's looked really good in recent weeks, and this is a great springboard to elevate her from this match.
I could completely agree. I think that makes a lot of sense there going forward. Then, like you say, Damage Control would be damaged, I think, if they lose this one this time round. Tino's time. What's your prediction?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. Where it's like if Damage Control loses, I feel like they're at the point where like they lost the tag titles, they won the tag titles, they won them back, they lost them, and it's just like we're like confused. Where it's like, are they being serious? What are we doing with these three? So they have to win this. And I think that like we talked about earlier, I didn't mention it, but I think having all three of the titles on the line would it have been something great, just added extra, just to make the feel like, you know, because like with Bianca's team, there's not really like 5 people that like it's just like a team put together. With Damage Control, they're gonna have to go on and face somebody. So I'm gonna take them. And if they lose, like Jonesy said, they're dead in the water. And what are we doing with them? Because are we seeing Bianca and Rhea now? Is Bayley going to be doing something else? What are we? Because we saw that stare down a few weeks. Was it last week? I think didn't you? Yeah, with Rhea and Bianca. I think that's what we're leading to. So
yeah, makes a lot of sense.
Don't forget, obviously, Io and Asuka with that great promo the other week as well.
Subtitles throughout the whole match. That's all I want.
Quickly before we go to the chat, then who's starting off War Games? I think it will be Asuka versus Io to kick things off. And it's Steve.
If it's not that, I'm going to go Alexa versus Dakota.
I like it, Jonesy.
I will go Alexa and Nikki.
Nice, Tino.
I'm gonna go if Tegan Knox returns. I'm gonna go Tegan and Dakota since they had that thing that never. So that's
I like that.
It's a great show.
I like that. It's a great show indeed. Let's go then to the chat then. And KXI, after a long debate with myself, I think Ronda is winning.
Who won? Who won the debate?
So I like that. Very well timed with that there. Underground says, have we had Ronda versus Sonya? Only in a couple of matches on SmackDown. Ronda has won them decisive where we've had it, but not an actual feud at this point. KXI says that I think the SmackDown Women's Division needs more legit challengers. Send Asuka to SmackDown on something. I think she'd be a good contender to go over to SmackDown. I'd quite like to see that. I'd also like to build up the stars that they have on SmackDown. Obviously, Shotzi is someone that could do that. Nubico says, fans have been really harsh on Shotzi of late. Let's hope the fans' goodwill can get back to it. I do believe that Ronda Rousey's retained her SmackDown Women's title. It does seem like a safe prediction at this stage. Let's go into the War Games then. Too Sweet Carl says, I think it's Beth. At least that's what I want. Sasha returning without Naomi wouldn't make much sense, so I've counted it out as an option. Fair play. I think it makes a lot of sense as well. That's why they left. They wanted to defend the women's tag title. So, Carl, you might be onto something there. Kankside, it just feels kind of weird to me, like they're revealing this on SmackDown to start, making me think it's not Candice. Yet I think Candice is probably unlikely at this stage. So rumors are she does have a shoulder injury at this stage. Underground says the surprise entrant, hoping it'll be either Tegan Knox or Sasha. Could be a similar surprise like Owens back in NXT with Team Ciampa, then faces Dakota and Bayley would be priceless. And I do think it would be a fun moment if they did that. I like that, Tino, particularly when you brought it up as well earlier on. And if Damage Control wins, they're going to need one more match with Bianca, potentially. But unless Jonesy said there, if Rhea gets the pinfall, and particularly if Rhea gets the pinfall over Bianca, then I think we could be onto something there. Absolutely. Richard with his lovely troll comment there. I don't think Saray or Alba Fire are going to be saving Bianca at this stage. Did I see the graphic of the old Nikki Cross is back? I'm kind of behind on the wrestling. It is true indeed, Underground. Nikki Cross is back and she is crazy as ever. Thankfully, she's not vicious though. Yes, she might be. Thankfully not vicious, though, like the Raiders and Austin Theory. KXI says, I see Damage Control winning for the sole reason because Rhea is on the team. She shouldn't be taking any losses anytime soon. I think that's a fair assumption to make there because Rhea is... Let's be fair, she is quite legit. Nubico, it'll be an insane match, but I get the feeling this match will be the final nail in the coffin for Damage Control. But the build-up is good, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm actually looking forward to it. KXI says if Damage Control wins, what if Rhea pins Bianca instead of Bayley? Could be interesting. Certainly is what we are suspecting will happen here. We've got Noob saying we believe we're going to get Rhea versus Bianca at the Rumble. We're going to get Nikki and Alexa possibly, and Asuka and Io Sky at WrestleMania 39. So you can give Asuka something post War Games. Absolutely, I love the sound of the lot of that there, and I'm pretty sure the chat would agree with me as well. Underground says that if the Old Cross is actually coming back, could they re-sign Sanity? Would love to see Sanity come back. That was a group that was never really given the full potential on the main roster, unfortunately. We've also indeed. We've got ONW as well. Thank you for joining us. Says sup. I hope you're doing well. Thank you for checking out the stream. Hope you're enjoying it so far. Nubico says I have 3 choices. Tegan Knox, Kairi Sane. I like that. And Becky Lynch as well there. Mike Habs Mike says how to get a big pop for Tegan. And Dakota Runner Mouse saying she's the greatest moment was 3 years ago when she ended Tegan's career. Show the clip over and then Tegan show on Saturday. Like the idea there, like the storytelling. That would be quite fun indeed. Kaxo says if it's Becky, then Team Bianca has to win, right? But then you're just burying Damage Control. And that is the damage of it if you bury Damage Control. But yeah, I don't think Becky needs to be decided in the full. And if Becky is the one, I think she comes in late in the match as well. I think that she would do not so much damage in there as she's just come off from having a shoulder injury. Trips really fumbled the bag with this whole thing. I think it's been a bit up and down, but I do think it's been okay. I just think there's been too many people involved here. We've had so many options for War Games, we don't quite know where to narrow it down. Two Sweet Carl says, I'll never forget meeting KO earlier in the day and joking around saying, see you at War Games, and then we saw him mega pop. So it looks like, Tino, you wasn't the only one there for that one.
Yeah,
Two
right.
Sweet Carl was in the building as well there.
Right? We could have met up.
We could have done 3 years later, and you're podcasting. You never know. Next time in Chicago, you might get to do so. KXI says, if it's Tegan, I think she might get an Emma pop because she's barely on the main roster, but neither was Mia Yim. She got a decent pop, so who knows? Absolutely. Chris reckons it is going to be Becky Lynch. Still catching up with some of the comments here. She'll save the final women for Team Bianca for the pay-per-view. I like to do with Team Ciampa. As Josie said earlier, that could be a good way to go around. And of course, Richard still hoping that Zoe Stark will join Judgment Day. Don't see it happening, I'm afraid, Richard. Damage Control wins. Bayley going to pin Bianca Belair. Liking that prediction, Chris. And Underground says, men's War Games is a place you have Sami Zayn turn babyface, where he kicks the Usos, who hates him, with Owens getting the pinfall. Book it with that at WrestleMania. I remember you saying this a long time ago, that being the WrestleMania match. I think it's going to happen, but I'm not sure if that's how I'm going to book it there. But you'll see how we'll say in a couple of minutes' time. I'm guessing you're going in the minority, but going with the baby faces. Well, I like some minority. We like a bit of change here. Nubico says, Damage Control winning. I get the feeling Asuka is going to get most likely take the pin and get pinned by Io Sky. Like that. Io and Asuka to kick things off. And we've got Bayley and Bianca Belair. Asuka, Alexa and Nikki potentially is another one. And even though you don't want this to happen, Kofi and AJ feud incoming. So there we go. That's what we said with the women's. Let's go on to the men's. We took 20 minutes on the women's. Let's make sure we make it 15 on the men's. We've got then the Bloodline taking on the Brawling Brutes, Drew McIntyre, and the mysterious fifth member being none other than Kevin Owens KO. To shock Sami Zayn, to say the very least. To give a quick backlog then where this has been building up. Started with writing Sheamus off of TV, didn't it? With the 4-1 beatdown from the Bloodline. After that point, the Brawling Brutes went for the tag team titles, unsuccessful at Crown Jewel. But we did get the return then of Sheamus coming to TV as they went to go and take on the Bloodline. Then we had Drew McIntyre. Then obviously at that point, we've seen that they've been bitter enemies, but they've been best friends for like 20 years, so they are like brothers, even to the point the wars they've gone through. Drew was the best man at Sheamus's wedding. Congratulations to Sheamus, by the way. And of course, then it led to a mysterious fifth person, that being announced to Kevin Owens. And we mentioned one mega pop on this stream. It got another mega pop on SmackDown this past week, where we saw a stunner on Roman Reigns as well. And it seems that Kevin Owens and Sheamus are gunning after Roman Reigns. So the question, does there kind of relate here as we go into the build here. Josie, what do you think of the build? But do you think that Sheamus and KO could cancel each other out, being the ones actually wanting to dethrone the Tribal Chief here in War Games?
I think it creates a sense of mystery and intrigue that you don't really know what's going to happen. But I've enjoyed the build there. I think this is everybody that's got an issue with the bloodline. It's nice to see even numbers. I think that's great. And yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's great to see Roman Reigns in like a on the pay-per-view. I think that's quite a nice treat. We don't see him too often on pay-per-view these days. But yeah, looking forward to seeing this. I think this is the best they could have done considering the short time they've had to really build this match.
It certainly has been a shorter time building this match compared to the women's. We mentioned the women's had 4 months of build getting to this point. The men's has been arguably the last sort of 4 to 5 weeks maximum.
I think everybody's kind of started the feud and then gone away. Like Kevin Owens started with Roman, went away for a while. Drew always said his history of Roman, went away again for Karrion Kross. It's kind of all this, but it's all linked back. But I think it's really, really good. And I think for anyone perspective, this should be fantastic. I'm really looking forward to seeing what they do. Got big shoes to fill, definitely.
As they do. Joe, you make a great point there, because obviously Drew was son of Sikoa. That's a feud that kind of needs to be revisited after the clash. Obviously, KO was in the summer, like you said, going after Roman Reigns and took time off. He was supposed to be back long before now, but the stuff with Sami has been so good that they've kept going on with this bloodline stuff with the honorary Uce. And we have been feeling quite Ucey the last few weeks on SmackDown. We cannot lie to ourselves. But at the same time here then, Tino, looking into this, what do you think here of the build here? I mean, I think that still, even if it feels kind of rushed at the end, it still has been pretty good overall.
Yeah, no, I agree. I've really enjoyed it. I mean, I'm always feeling Uzi and Sami Zayn's coming out. I mean, I'm always down for it. Like, it's great. The whole everything about it and just the bloodline and everything. And I feel like a lot of this, like, kind of like started building, like with like Drew and stuff, when Solo kind of like came out and like costed him that. And that was like where like it started with him. And I feel like they've kind of like had it build in, like every one of these guys have a problem with the bloodline. And I feel like there's like you know what I mean, where it's like I don't think the bloodline is gonna like lose, and we'll talk about that later. But I mean, I think that this match is gonna be great. It's gonna be spots after spots after spots, and Roman fighting. I didn't think Roman was gonna be in this match. I thought Roman was gonna call upon somebody, but it's great to see him fight on the pay-per-view. Especially this is the 10-year anniversary of the pay-per-view that the Shield debuted on, Survivor Series, and it's just great. It's great to see Seth and Roman. It would have been great to see Dean, but we know what he's doing in AEW. So, but I mean, it's great, and I love it, and it's going to be a great match. And I think it's going to be the match that, like, especially at like 9 o'clock, probably it's going to be a match that everybody's going to be like more energized for. Where it's probably be a little tired. It's going to be great. I
think you make some great points. I love the fact you mentioned the Shield reference there again, obviously. And obviously, Roman probably will be main eventing this show 10 years after the debut as well there. And NXT, obviously, asking your thoughts with the build as well. But surely this match feels even more important, the fact that we know we've got Roman Reigns, the top attraction of WWE, being put in this for the first time that we have it on the main roster, the War Game structure.
I suppose it just adds more of an attraction to it than anything. Yeah, I mean, I'm really excited to see what Roman Reigns is going to do in this kind of dynamic of a match, because it's not very often we get to see him in stuff like this. Like, yes, we've seen him in cage matches, Hell in a Cell, Elimination Chamber, but it's amazing how as soon as you start talking to me, I start coughing my guts up. But yeah, no, it's going to be really exciting. And then, without going into spoilers, like my answer, I think it's going to be. I think this is really going to be a really exciting match. It's going to be a defining moment for the Bloodline with this match and where they go from here towards Mania.
Yeah, I think you make a fantastic point there. And this is the thing where I think it's the difference between, to give my take on it, I feel the first match of the night, we spoke about the women there, massive spot fest. This is the story-driven cage match of the night here. I think this is the one where we take this and we've got so many elements in it. Sami Zayn being the honorary Uce. KO has been saying throughout the summer, Sami, you're stupid. What are you doing wearing that Bloodline t-shirt for? That stuff can start building now. We know that the friction with Sami and Jay, is that going to play into this where one of them ends up costing the other, where the Bloodline loses, or do the Bloodline remain strong and show a true united front for the first time in quite a while? Because that is literally the goal here. And obviously, as Jonesy mentioned with the last match, the idea from this match here to raise the stakes is someone going to come out as a contender against Roman Reigns going forward, because Sheamus wants to go for that championship. So does Kevin Owens. It's going to be interesting to see how everything is going to play out here. Now, when we first announced War Games was going to be a part of this, you can go back and check my video a long time ago. When the day they announced it was like an hour old, I said Sami Zayn, the Bloodline will be in this. Sami will lose it on behalf of the Bloodline. That was my prediction when we first started. We're in a position now where that could be a possibility. We'll have to wait and see. But just before we go into predictions, let's go with who we think is going to start this cage match off in War Games. Who are going to be the first two people that are going to start the structure off here? I'm going to start with Jonesy to give us the prediction first.
I think the first two, I'm going to go Jey Uso, and I am going to go with Butch. I think them two are really good workers. Butch, I think it's got longevity, and I think that saves the bigger sort of wrestlers for later on in the match, like the Drew McIntyres and the Roman Reigns and stuff.
I love that prediction, especially as well, because obviously we know that Kevin Owens has experience of War Games, but obviously he's carrying an injury. I think it was a MCL strain, apparently. Hopefully not too bad, which is why he's still in this match. But Butch and Rich Holland have been involved in this in NXT before, was part of Pat McAfee's team a couple of years ago. I think Pete Dunne's been in a couple of them. So Butch, a really good shout there. Tina, who do you reckon is kicking off this cage match?
What was Rich Holland really on Pat McAfee's team?
He was, yeah.
Oh, I didn't know that. Fun fact. Well, so, I didn't know. But no, I'm going to say, I don't know. That's why, because I feel like I just watched
it was Tony Lookin and Danny Birch.
Was it a
he was originally, and that's when he broke his leg, and he had to be taken out of it.
Ah, well, there you go. That shut me right.
And then Pete Dunne was the replacement for Rich Holland.
There you go.
There you go. Look at how it all comes full circle.
Absolutely.
But I'm going to say Solo Sikoa starts off for the Bloodline. And I'm going to say, just because I want to try to be different here, but I also think that I feel like Sammy and Jay are going to be fighting. Who I want to start first. No, you start first. I want to start. Like, they're always arguing with each other about something. And that's going to be the argument. So I feel like that's what's going to happen. But then maybe I feel like Roman's just going to be like, okay, Solo. Just because I feel like Solo could go out there. He could be in the match the whole time. But it would probably be Jay. And then I'll say Butch Pete Dunne, because he's been in the most, I feel like, out of all of them, that he knows how to do it. He knows how to maneuver around the ring, where to go in the ring. So I'm going to say Butch and Solo, but I'm going to say that most likely Jay and Butch. I'd like to see Solo.
Sorry, Tina. I love that, by the way. I love the idea of the bickering where Roman's like, screw you guys, you're getting in the cage, you go in when I tell you. Solo, get in the ring first. I think that's an amazing. If that played into narrative in the night, that would be superb, and I can see that going down. Love that take. I'm going to sort of half copy your answer. I think Solo is going to start, but I think Drew McIntyre will be the other one that will be going in first. That's going to be my take for the first two. NXT.
There's so many combinations. You could have Sammy and Kevin. You could have Solo and Drew. You could have. Excuse me, you could have whoever, but I'm going to go with what Tina said. I reckon it's going to be Pete Dunne, and I reckon Solo. I think it's going to be a case of Pete's just going to run to the ring and throw himself in that ring first. Anyone else. He's not going to give anyone else a chance to get in that ring before him. And then, yeah, like you said, you're going to have Sammy and Jay arguing, and Solo's just going to walk past him, and he's going to get in the ring. And I think you're going to have them two start. I just think it'll be a great comical spot, but I just think it just makes sense as well.
I just want to see them all. I want to see Roman have to sit in the cage with the two of them and like have them on each other's side, and Roman just be like, like, you two shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
but then if anything, that could make Roman turn around. That could even be like Jay saying to Sammy, "You go get in the ring. You're not part of the family. Do you know what I mean? You go start the match." It could be anything, man. It's gonna be good to see.
Absolutely. If KO was fully fit,
see where they put the cages too. Have you guys noticed they started putting them in the audience?
Like, yeah, they did. Yeah, they did before.
So I wonder where they do put them like with that. I would assume the top because it isn't the main roster, like Roman and stuff. But that was just something I was thinking about too.
Absolutely. I will say just quickly, I think KO would have started the match had there not been an MCL problem. I would have said him and Sammy would have been a great storyline drive to start this match off. But be interesting to see how it will go. But let's go into prediction time then. Let's see how we think this is going to end. Jonesy, what's your prediction here for the Bloodline against Brutes, Drew, and KO?
I think the baby faces are winning. I think this will be Roman Reigns' first pay-per-view loss since the Royal Rumble. He won't be getting pinned here, so I think the baby faces to win. I think crucially, I could see Kevin Owens getting the pinfall, and I think Jey Uso is going to be the one that gets pinned. I think this will cause friction where Sammy can then blade Jey, and this will then lead to that WrestleMania match, which has to happen, I think, which Silk alluded to earlier. I think if Roman Reigns and the Bloodline win here, I don't really know where we go. This is the final point of getting revenge on the Bloodline, really. I think if they don't do this here, I think it'll be really, really stupid.
Absolutely. Tino?
Okay, so this is what I'm going with it, and I feel like this is going to be where, because we don't see Roman obviously lose a lot because he's Roman Reigns, head of the table, everything in the world, he puts food on our table and everything. I feel like because he's in this match and everything, I feel like it's going to end. We're going to see some type of situation with Kevin and Sammy. We're going to see them stand off, kind of how they did on SmackDown and everything like that. But in the end of this match, I'm going to say that Sami takes the pinfall. I don't know who's going to pin him. It could be Kevin. It could be somebody. But I feel like this is going to be the way that they blame Sami for losing War Games, the first ever War Games on the main roster. They're going to blame him. They're going to say, you're not the honorary Uso no more. You cost us the biggest match in Survivor Series. Get the hell out. Kevin's going to be like, come on, buddy. Come on. Let me show you the way. Let's go back to NXT Sami Zayn. He's going to come out with his old style. We're going to see Sami and Kevin versus the Usos at WrestleMania for the Undisputed Tag Team Championships. That's
I think it's good, but I'd say, if I may, I think it's very soon for that. Like, Sami Zayn is so hot at the moment with Uso Finn. I think that is a great shout, you said, but I think they'll delay that. I think it's far too soon to drop this Sami Zayn partnership in the Bloodline. If it wasn't so over, then I could probably see that. But
it should be interesting to see how long they do delay it for.
They should do probably what you said, though, to be honest. But it's just down to how they keep him as over as they have been, because he's so over at the moment.
Oh, yeah. And they could just keep selling that Uso shirt until especially around Christmas too. That's the thing. They're gonna want everybody to buy this.
Uso jingle bells on the Christmas tree, eh? Calling it now.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to combine your answers to give my prediction, because I still think the same. I think Sami loses, he takes the fall, but Jay's the reason why. And that's going to lead into the storytelling going into SmackDown afterwards, because it will be the case of like, well, look, it was Jay's fault. You can see it on the footage on the screen. That will cause the questions again. If the hothead Jay should be a part of the Bloodline, should they kick him out? What will they do? And eventually, when it gets around Royal Rumble time, I think that's the right time to pull the trigger, because then that's when you can start building for the Elimination Chamber in Montreal, where you can start getting Sami to get his match at WrestleMania, whether it's against the Usos, whether it's against Roman, whatever you want to do. But this is where Sami takes the fall here for the Bloodline. The cracks start, but he's not kicked out yet. And Steve.
Yes, exactly what I was going to say. Jay's going to be the reason. It's going to be something like a case of Drew's going to line up to do a Claymore to Roman. Jay's just going to push Sami in front. Sami's going to cop the Claymore. He's going to get pinned by Drew. They're going to win, and then Jay's going to go on a mad run where he's going to try and say, look, it's Sami's fault we lost, blah, blah, blah. And this is where we're going to start to see the breakup of the Bloodline. And then obviously Roman's going to be annoyed, and it's going to be great, because I just want to see Roman Reigns pull that face again when Jay told him, I don't care what you think.
Absolutely, absolutely. I love all the takes here from everybody. Let's go into the chat then to wrap things up from everybody there with this War Games match. We're going to just keep just the War Games comments. I'm just going to read out. So there's a couple of other ones that aren't War Games related. Bloodline wins, Sami pins KO, says Chris. Loving that take there. Imagine if that's the case, that Sami proves he really is the honorary Uso. And the face of Sami Zayn on the poster screams Home Alone. Loving that noob. That's fantastic. But still technically War Games related. Tease of the Bloodline turning on Sami should start after Survivor Series. Turn should happen at Elimination Chamber in Montreal. Do it in Sami's hometown. We'll get the Bloodline huge heel heat. Liking the idea of that. Could be an idea way to do it. Finn Balor screw KO with the stunner. I'm not sure somehow, Richard, but loving the trolling nonetheless. Steve, I've got your coughing going on, starting off now. It's contagious. Bruce win. Sami or Jay takes the pin. Liking that. It's exactly what I think will happen as well. Can't be courage. She just won the IWGP Women's World Championship. That's true. She did just win that. Probably does rule her out at this stage. I still want Sami versus Roman at WrestleMania 39, as do I, Ed. I think that is the money match that we'd love to see. To start off it, I think Chris reckons Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn. We've got Sami starting for the Bloodline. Kevin or Butch for the Brutes, says KXI. Starting the structure with Bianca and Dakota Kai. Anja by Cactus Richard. Seriously.
What's this WWE 92? Like, when you got that Wild Wild West theme pay-per-view or something?
I think the coal miner's gloves coming in from Richard in the next couple of comments. Underground Temple says Solo should run down Owens like Rikishi did to and Solo did it for Roman. I like that comment. Even if I butchered reading it out loud, I still think that would be quite funny. Also, it's going to be Drew and Jey Uso for the male, which I feel like that wasn't a troll comment. Ed, Steve, we'll get to, Steve, I do get to it as best as I can, Ed. Let's see, making sure I get the actual War Games comments. Oh yeah, Kevin did get hurt, and then Solo and Butch for me loved the idea. Joseph in the house says, "Is it true? Apparently Becky Lynch is coming back. I saw something about that." Fightful is reporting that, Joseph. We can't confirm or deny it at this point, but yes, Fightful has reported that the fifth person is meant to be announced on SmackDown. We'll see if Becky Lynch does appear this Friday evening. Ed Fry says, I think Sammy accidentally hula kicks Jay and Jay gets pinned. That's lovely. That's a lovely way to do it. If Jay's going to take the pinfall, it's a great shout, Ed. That would be awesome. And the Bloodline could be the main roster's undisputed era when it comes to War Games. Certainly could be, although I don't think it'll be 5 of them next year unless they replace Sami Zayn with.
Could I throw something? Could I throw something batshit crazy out there, as I always do on every prediction screen?
I'd be disappointed if you didn't, Jonesy. Go for it.
So we're on this form already. We're talking about cactuses, all this other stuff. It's going to be up there with that. But no, I was thinking, is there any possibility that we get some other stable debut? We do get the Wyatt 6 finally come in at the end of this match and finally make their presence known. Is that something that you could see happening? Because this would be a great place if they want to have a new stable to feud with the Bloodline. I'm not saying it's going to be the Wyatt 6, but I'd be a fan of doing that sort of angle. Obviously, Bray's not in that direction at the moment. I appreciate that.
No, obviously we did discuss off air if we should talk about Bray versus LA Knight if it would be a match. I don't think it's going to happen. If it was, I think Bray would win. I think that's a natural given. But at the same time, like you said there, someone that just naturally challenged the Bloodline, say they were standing tall, a new faction to go with, that would be exciting to see. I just feel that with the Wyatts, myself personally, that storyline is going at well, I think the Tortoise could win the race at this point. It's going that slow. So I just feel like we need to establish Howdy. We need to establish Harper. Then we need to get 5 more members. I feel we could be talking 2 or 3 months before we
I was thinking just sort of possibly. But that's fine.
I would love it if it did happen.
I'm just thinking to make an impact because no one would see it coming, and you then have if they come in and rip the cage down or something, or do something like Kane did back in the day at Bad Blood, I think that would just be so impressive to see from a spectacle, if that makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that would be a really cool way to bring him in as well, just literally just to destroy War Games. Would you have like a non-finish then?
I guess you can. Like, I think the problem is obviously if they do come in, it takes away from whoever wins the match. I could appreciate that, Steve, when you put it like that.
Yeah, I mean, it certainly would be exciting. I mean, the things we had a debut 10 years ago. We mentioned the Shield at the start here. A debut of the Wyatt 6. It certainly would be exciting. It certainly would get people talking. And obviously, they would be coming for Roman. So would Roman be someone that would have killed the world there next, Steve?
I mean,
it's a good possibility, but I just think that this pay-per-view is more about cementing War Games as a match. I don't think they're really going to want anything to overshadow these matches in themselves. So I think a faction reveal is just a bit too early.
Fair point.
That's fair. But Tino, any take on this quickly? If maybe like a faction or whatever like that could go for the Bloodline, even if it's not Wyatt 6.
Yeah, I mean possibly, but like Steve said, I think that they're just going to try to focus on that because I think this is what they're going to try to make Survivor Series about every single year. It's all about War Games. It's Survivor Series War Games. They're trying, like Triple H said in the beginning, he was trying to make it more storyline based instead of, because like I mentioned earlier, for a while there, they went away from the Survivor Series. Like we had a few throughout the years, like we had Team Authority versus Team WWE or Team John Cena. We had a few like those like that, but it just has not went. And I feel like this is a way to make Survivor Series where we know Thanksgiving weekend, War Games, let's go, it's ready and it's time. So I mean, I think that's more likely, but I mean, if we do, I mean, I feel like that could be something. And I mean, I feel like maybe we see something at the Rumble because that was another thing. What if somebody, like, if they're going to have it build a little bit longer, this Bloodline thing, what if Roman gets mad and whoever does get pinned says you have to start off the Rumble? We've seen it before where people are like, I'm done. You get out there. You're starting the Rumble first. Maybe we see, maybe with Austin Theory, this is something I want to mention real quick. With Austin Theory, maybe I feel like he'll be the guy, early prediction, I feel like he's going to be the longest to last in the Rumble this year.
I like it. It's a solid prediction.
But yeah, I
just hope they don't.
Go ahead. No, that's all.
I was just going to say, I just hope they don't do what they normally do and give away 27 of the 30 participants.
Please, no. Like
just ruin the surprise of the Rumble every year.
So bad. That's the best point about the Rumble is the surprises. I want to know. No, I don't want to know. I don't want to know who it is. Give me like 10 people, 12 people. And it's just like, yeah.
Give me the number 30. Give me the number 1. Give me the number 2. That's fine. But
and let's have the wheel thing. Let's bring back the wheel thing. What happened to them going back? Like I'm sure like Kayla and Byron can stand in the back and have superstars go and grab their number. Like it's not that hard.
Absolutely.
Someone's got to screw someone over by swapping the numbers at some point, right?
Yeah, right. I mean,
absolutely. I'm going to one last question, and then we're going to wrap things up here today. But first off, quick shout out to Scott Retro Wrestling and House, doing some great retro content, by the way. Go and check his channel and give him a subscribe while you're at it as well. But just the last question I'm going to ask, because you mentioned about Survivor Series, obviously went to the Raw versus SmackDown format here. I want to ask a question just quickly. I'll start going around the table. So we'll go NXT first, Jonesy, then Tino. If we have War Games for the next number of years, does it become a case of where it is basically replacing Hell in a Cell, these sort of gimmick pay-per-views? Will it become a case where Survivor Series will still, in 5 years' time, everyone goes, oh, but we get it every year. It doesn't mean anything. Oh, it's this, that, and the other. Or do you reckon it's something that can be a stable? Should it be War Games at Survivor Series every year? Or should it just be used when it works? NXT.
Yes and no. I mean, the fact that you could have more than just 2 teams do a War Games match. So you can have 3 teams of 3 or 3 teams of 4, and you can kind of chop and change it every year. Not necessarily. I mean, you could also not have a women's and a men's every year. I think this is because this is the first one. But like you said, I think it just if it's storyline driven, then yes, it makes sense. But yeah, I just think for the next maybe 2 or 3 years, it's going to be the stable for Survivor Series, just to build up a back catalogue and really emphasize and make War Games a WWE thing and not a WWE thing, that the WCW thing that they've just incorporated.
Absolutely. Jonesy, what's your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think it should really be safe for when the feud needs it. This should be for something that's a blood settler, so to speak. It should be where they can't deal with stuff. It can't stay within the ring. This is 2 rivals that hate each other. And crucially, this is a fantastic tool because ultimately you get multiple people over if you do it right. You can do storylines. You can do whatever you like. You can do heel turns. You do whatever. And I think this is a real good route to vault on the way to a Rumble WrestleMania. It's a real good path now to have this stop and have this little reset now. They've got a real good way to come out this coming Saturday and have real good direction idea of where they're going, which will be good to see.
Absolutely. Tino.
I mean, yeah, I mean, I think the biggest thing is like with this is I feel like because they're getting away from the pay-per-views like Hell in the Cell, they're getting away from the theme pay-per-views. I feel like this is going to be the one that they're going to want to make a staple because we're going to see more of like the Hell in the Cells. We're going to see matches like that at different hopefully we get like Armageddon pay-per-views back, Judgment Day, these actual pay-per-views that have names and not just Hell in the Cell and stuff like that. So I feel like that's what this is going to be with that. And I feel like this is going to be the one that they're going to try. I feel like they finally see the problem that they took away from Survivor Series and they're trying to build it back up to the point where it was. Because like I said, I've said it a lot for a while there. I was not excited for this pay-per-view for a long time. And finally, for the first time in a while, it feels like it is. So I think it does. But then, you know what I mean? Like, it could go both ways. So
that's because we haven't had a draft 4 weeks before it, and they're all trying to bang on about brand loyalty when it's like you've only been here 4 weeks. I don't know what you're talking about. But just as I'd like to think that they could also possibly go back to the original Survivor Series styles with the War Games. Like you could possibly do an elimination style match as well in there. I think that would be an interesting dynamic to add to it. So instead of people coming in every 5 minutes, you have all 10 start and you just get down to the final 1, 2, 3 people.
I like it. It's evolving the stipulation as well. I think that'd be a fun way to do it. I agree with KXI, by the way, to give my take on it quickly. First couple of years should happen at Survivor Series, then use the stip when it's necessary and make it necessary if it's going to be at Survivor Series. I want to go through the comments very quickly. Then we're going to wrap things up here today and give our final comments from everybody because I know, Jones, you've got work in the morning as well. So I want to make sure you are good to go in the morning. No, nothing if you need extra coffee in the morning, is it? No. Richard Rhodes thinks there'll be someone hiding under the ring during the Women's War Games. Hope it's not you, Richard. Carrickson says, I bet it's Zoe Stark. Of course, if you watch the stream, you'll know where he's going with that. I think Sammy will accidentally eliminate Jay during the Royal Rumble. I love that idea as well. Been mentioning the Royal Rumble a little bit here. Sammy saying he doesn't turn face in War Games, haven't turned face in the Royal Rumble where he can't take anymore and eliminate Jey Uso. So a couple of different fun ways of bringing that in there. Scott says, I would love to see them down at the ring, like at the WCW War Games, maybe reduce the time during entrances. That's a great shout because they did have the timer, 10 seconds, persons in, not mucking around. I like that. Cut some time, cut some corners where you can, because these matches probably at the moment will go about an hour each. Chris says, if Bayley does not win the Royal Women's Championship this year, Bayley wins the Women's Royal Rumble. It's a great prediction there. We'll have to wait and see it will come out. I'll be giving my take of early Rumble predictions at some point next week. And Kanksai knows I'm going to do a WrestleMania one as well. I've been promising that for a while. I think Austin Theory and Mustafa Ali will be the Iron Men of the Royal Rumble. Great prediction. Certainly could be. For the first couple of years, it should happen at Survivor Series. As we mentioned a minute ago, use a stick when necessary. I agree with that. Richard, loving this comment here. Dominic wins the Rumble in tribute to Eddie Guerrero. Viva la Raza. Fantastic comment. Ed Fredo says, don't put any specific match, any specific pay-per-view gimmick. That's how it ends up getting pay-per-views like Money in the Bank, Hell in a Cell, and TSC. Ed, I kind of agree with you because that's why people got bored of it.
The problem you have with War Games is that it's two rings next to each other, and it's such a pain to, I imagine, broadcast and put onto a live crowd because you've got two rings set up. So I can't imagine it will be used. Say after the first 2-3 years, it will be used sparingly, I would imagine, because it's just such a pain to broadcast to an audience.
I'll tell you what, too, being there live and watching the matches, because I don't know if you guys ever noticed, they do one match in one ring and then they do another in the other ring. When I was watching it live, it was so hard to see every other match when they were in the farther ring. So it's like, depending on where you're sitting, it's so hard. And it was like when I went back and I had to rewatch it, it was like there was a bunch of spots that I missed even in the War Games because I couldn't see the farther ring. I'm like, damn. So that's another thing where it's just like, you know.
Absolutely. I do agree. I think personally that's how they should do it. But Cody returns, stare down Roman Reigns to close War Games. I think it's a bit soon. Personally, I think the Royal Rumble was more likely. Rumble probably more likely.
They just started like saying his name again. I feel like he's starting to get like closer. You know what I mean?
Yes, closer, not quite there yet. And C Nation says, been here the whole time, just haven't been in the chat. Don't worry about that, C Nation, but thank you for checking out the stream and hope you are doing well. It's always great to have you around. Last couple of comments then before we close things off. We go around the table. Favorite War Games match? NXT, what's your favorite one up to this point?
It has to be the one with Kevin. It has to be the War Games match. It has to be the one with Kevin Owens returns. I just like it was great. Obviously, you had the Undisputed Era as well. Ciampa, just a great lineup of wrestlers in there. For Survivor Series, it's 2019 where NXT was involved. Man, it's the best one. We done it on your video before, Steve, where you asked the best Survivor Series of all time, and I live by it, man. It made sense. NXT won it, and it was just a great event overall.
Absolutely, Jonesy.
My favourite one is Fall Brawl 98, where you had Team WCW versus NW Hollywood and NW Wolfpack. It was a great multi-man match, and I remember it sort of showing my age. I remember having the videotape as a kid, and I absolutely loved it.
Absolutely. What's your favourite Survivor Series?
Survivor Series' favourite one is probably 1998, the Deadly Game Tournament. I really enjoyed that. I thought it told a good story, and it elevated so many people on one night.
It was a great Survivor Series. That Tino, what's your favorite War Games match?
Jonesy, it's so funny that you say that tonight because I actually watched that match yesterday on Peacock. I took the day off of work and I sat down and watched a bunch of the matches, and I was just like, yeah. But no, I'm gonna go with NXT, Steve. I agree. In 2019, just being there that whole weekend was just awesome. The build to it, the whole like NXT coming out and taking over SmackDown, and the way SmackDown ended, and the way War Games was, and just seeing that pop with Kevin Owens, because at the time I really didn't know, and like I wasn't like really like too much into like YouTubing and podcasting and everything, so I really wasn't like watching other people's, and I really didn't know too many spoilers, which I liked, because when I went there, I'm like, oh, me and my friend were like, holy crap, and it was just the whole weekend was great, especially at the 2019 Survivor Series. Watching Keith Lee and Roman Reigns in the ring together, watching NXT come out, seeing like the superstar, it was just like, oh my God. And I also heard a report that Triple H did, and he wanted to do this in 2019, a War Games with NXT, Raw, and SmackDown. Like, just imagine that with those three brands in War Games, what they would have done with each other, and what they did in the traditional match would have been just, it makes me so mad that we didn't get it. But I mean, 2019 will always be my favorite, just because it was my first ever live pay-per-view I went to, all the moments, everything. So 2019 will always be my favorite.
That's a fair shout, by the way. And I will say quickly, my favorite War Games match will be Team Sting versus the Dangerous Alliance in 1992. But it was Wrestle War back in the day. I don't think it was even Full Brawl at that point. And I think favorite Survivors of all time. Look, I have a sentimental feeling for last year's. It was my first POE that I went to live, and it was on my honeymoon as well. So that's a special one for me personally. But if I go with my favorite of all time, Deadly Games has a special place in my heart as well. But 2002 first ever Elimination Chamber for me takes the crown. I think that certainly is probably the best one from top to bottom, best card of all time. Right, I'm going to do the last few comments then, and then we're going to wrap things up because Jonesy needs to be up for work. And well, we've been going for an hour and a half now, guys. But thank you everyone that's been checking out. Hope you've liked the video. If you've enjoyed it, please do hit the thumb up. It really does go a long way. Subscribe to the channel if you're new here as well. And like I say, you can always drop more comments afterwards. I'll continue to answer your questions after the stream if you want me to. Ed Fry says, you say that, but WCW did it a full brawl every year. They certainly did, but I do think they got worse as they went along. But that's just a personal opinion from me. I can't say that on behalf of everybody else. Elijah says, unlikely, but what if on SmackDown this Friday, Alexa gets injured, kidnapped by Howdy, and that's the way that Alexa's on the War Games card. Be interesting to see if they did that, and so they could roll her out of it as well.
The kidnapping isn't that's not a long shot. We could very well see that. I mean, we didn't see him destroy LA Knight on a commercial break, so. We
did, and do you know what? Then it would actually have continuity of what happened at Crown Jewel, which Jonesy I think would certainly be a fan of that. So largely great shout. Underground says Zayn snaps on Jey Uso, Owens pins Jey. That's your story. Zayn eliminates Jey from the Rumble, and either one starts for those titles. Certainly would go a long way if they were to do that for WrestleMania. How do we feel about Full Gear, and who are some of the returns we'd like to see at Survivor Series with no pay-per-view to Royal Rumble 23? Don't think there'll be any returns at the Survivor Series, if I'm honest with you. Tegan Nox, I think, is the best shout that I think there, or Sasha Banks would be another one with Naomi. They're the most likely ones that we spoke about throughout the stream here. Becky Lynch could be one as well that could happen, but could be announced on SmackDown. But I don't think anyone real outside of those names that we've mentioned already. But quickly, Full Gear, just want to say quickly, guys, if you have seen it or haven't seen it, don't give us a full review because we need to wrap things up really. But I'd like to just get a score rating from you out of 10. So NXT, have you seen it? And if so, what's your score rating out of 10?
I've seen it. I think it's probably one of their best pay-per-views they've done to date. I would give it a 8 out of 10. It's still too long in some cases, and some of the matches didn't need to be on that card.
Absolutely. Jonesy?
I thought it was really good. I really enjoyed it. My score rating, I'm going to go 8 out of 10. I thought it did what it did. Good logical booking, good logical winners in the matches, and a great ending. What more can you want?
Absolutely, yeah. I would say the same very quickly there. I think 8 out of 10, definitely, possibly their best show of the year. I love they listen to their audience of people that won. Jamie Hayter winning there. So they're certainly booking things on the fly. Acclaimed retaining as well. Certainly worked there. Tino, what's yours? For me, just say 8 out of 10 as well. Tino, what would be your rating?
I'm going to say 7 out of 10 just because, like, it was a good pay-per-view and the matches were good, like Jamie Hayter winning, MJF winning and stuff like that. But again, there are too many matches. I really don't want to sit on a live stream also for a watch-along for 5.5 hours. It's too much wrestling. It didn't end till, like, 11. Didn't go to bed till, like, 2 o'clock that night because I was so, like, energized and adrenaline and everything. So it was good. Just we could make it end at, like, 10 o'clock so people could go to bed at a normal time. And hey, for people like for you guys to be able to stay up and watch it, because
that would have been 6:30 in the morning.
That's what I'm saying. Like it's so crazy. Like you poor guys can't even watch.
You didn't stop and watch it, did you, Steve?
No.
Thank God for that, mate. I say you're learning. Definitely. Oh God,
man. Someone texted me and I was like, "No, man, I'm not staying up for a 5-hour pay-per-view."
Like, no. And it's like, and by the time they get to the main event, like I'm sitting here on my live stream, like so tired. I'm like, "What's up, guys? How are we doing? We still here? Like, let's go." Like it just, like it needs to not be 5 hours.
Absolutely. Just a quick comment here. Underground said about swapping Zayn and Jay's number would be hilarious to the thing. We talked about the Rumble earlier. I think that would be a great idea to do there. Would love that. Carrot says, fun stream. Thank you very much there for joining us there. Richard Robes as well with your troll comments. Thank you for joining us as well there. Would love Jay White in WWE. And Elijah saying, okay, SCW. War Game's going to be great. Dan, thank you for joining us as well. And Elijah says, I like how he said it. Didn't say MJF wins. Was a good working. He make you hate him even when Regal. I'm intrigued. Certainly intrigued. Certainly was how we predicted it to go down on the live stream before. But if anyone hasn't seen it, go and check it out. You can pretty much got most of it right for once on the pay-per-view, which is quite nice. But did we get it right today? Let us know in the comments below for Survivor Series how our predictions right. What are your predictions? Let us know if you haven't give your predictions yet, and also if you're watching on delay. If you enjoyed the video, please like it and also subscribe as well. If you want to know where these guys are, I've got the links in the description of this video. So Tino's Time is on YouTube. Fantastic. Just hit 500 subs. Fantastic channel. Does lots of watch-alongs. Does wrestling, NFL as well. You sometimes do baseball as well, don't you?
Yeah, I do it all. And I also, while you guys are all in here, and if you guys haven't yet, I am doing a 500 subscriber giveaway raffle December 1st for all of my subscribers that have joined Tino's Nation, that press the subscribe button, that always come and hang out. be giving away a collectible item, and then I have a limited edition 2 only made Tino's Time t-shirt that I will also be giving everybody. So everybody in the chat, if you guys haven't, go join Tino's Nation, Tino's Time on YouTube, and all the social medias. I'll be live tonight for NXT at 7 o'clock. So if you guys want to come and hang out, drop your name in the comments, join the raffle. And so, yeah, that's where I'm at with all that. So thank you guys.
Do it indeed. Tino's Time. It's always a great time. He's taking over, ladies and gentlemen. So make sure to join Tino. Jonesy Chats Wrestling as well is on in the link in the YouTube as well. And not done some of the videos of late. We tend to have kidnapped him and Nick Steve to be on these prediction streams. But you never know. If they do content, it's worth going over there. And the stuff they've got from previous, which I've been fortunate to be a part of as well, has always been a lot of fun. So make sure to go and check those out. And before we go off, Nick Steve, you look like you got something you'd like to say to us.
No. I was just agreeing with what you said. That was what it was.
Oh, fair enough. He's just leaning into the mic. I was like, it looks like he's got something he wants to say there.
I'm leaning on the desk.
Oh, fair play, yeah. So I'm wearing everybody out now. It's 1 hour 38 in. But what I can say is, everybody, thank you all so much for taking the time to be on the stream today. It's been great to have you all here. And all I can say is thank you so much to everyone that's watched this video as well, to getting involved. And take care. Look after yourselves. Enjoy Survivor Series. We'll try and do a review as well for you this week also. Take care. Enjoy yourselves. And we'll see you next time. Enjoy War Games.
War Games.